For the betterment of the town of Cobalt, I call this meeting to order. 6:30. Disclosure of pecuniary interests and general nature thereof. Deputations and delegations. 3.1, Shani Christo and Barb Jambowski are going to be talking about implementing a soup kitchen. Please come up, girls.
They're both really nervous. You know.
Oh, get ease, please.
Hey, Mayor and Council, Barb Dombrowski, this is Barb, I'm Shani, are here today because we need your assistance in achieving our vision. We'd like to start a soup kitchen. What we mean by that is we'd like to offer the public a chance to sit with their friends, neighbors, and enjoy a hot bowl of homemade soup. And we all know nothing brings a community closer than a great bowl of soup. We need a place to host this monthly soup kitchen. Golden Age Club has declined our request to hold the soup kitchen, and apparently our community hall is closed. We need the following, we'd like the following 3 things from the town of Cobalt. One would be to help us secure a place to host it. And we're hoping to secure it monthly free of charge. We'd also like to ask the town of Cobalt if they're able to help us financially on an ongoing basis. Thirdly, is if anybody would like to volunteer, we would gladly like your help.
Okay, so to start with, again, for the meal, what we want to do is we want to offer a bowl of soup and homemade buns, coffee, tea, and water. We'd like to start this once a month. And and then if it's a success, then we obviously we would add more, but we just want to be successful one time a month. Okay. We would like our first date to be Saturday, January the 14th. We want to have it as a lunch, so that's 11:30 to 1:30. And yeah, so and then we'll try that out. Obviously, we're going to need volunteers earlier and later than that time, but that's when we would like to have the soup. Yeah, alrighty.
Our plan is to go to all local businesses to discuss possibly getting donations from them, whether that's financial, food, gift cards, etc. Maybe we can even apply for a grant.
Okay, so who are we trying to target? Well, initially we wanted to obviously target the lower income bracket, but now we decided that we would like to just offer it to anyone, and we would like to have a donation box there, so that if somebody was willing to offer a donation for a bowl of soup, that we would have that.
For volunteers, other than Barb and myself, Cameron Clark, who works for the Temiskaming Health Unit, I had called Cameron regarding refreshing my food handling training, and I happened to mention to him about Barb and I wanted to start a soup kitchen. He was so impressed, stated that at least our kitchens would be used instead of sitting empty. It's a great cause, very much needed in our community, and we have his full support. Emily Murphy from the Cobalt Coleman and Latchford Food Bank offered any assistance we need. Sharon Nadeau, Tina Gagno, Shirley Gilson, Rob Salter, Val Patterson, Kate Scott, Mary Barristow, Evelyn Pickard, Miriam Lilly, Whitey Gibson, and Ryan Bro are some of the ones that have offered to volunteer. Barb has her food handling training. I'm being recertified on December 16th with the health unit.
All right, and so just to let you know, like in that, the group of volunteers, like a lot of volunteers are very experienced, not only making great soup, big buns, but all the rest of the duties that go along with putting on like luncheons. Like these are all very experienced people. So just so you know, and Yeah, and like if it goes well, then you'd like to approach the TPS students that are interested in getting their volunteer hours, helping out with the kitchen. And we would also approach community living because they often have residents that would be interested in helping out as well. So those are possibilities for volunteers.
Barb and I believe in this so much, we're willing to pay the money up front for the first time. We also have a community member that's offered a big turkey for our first soup. So in closing, again, we're looking for a place to host it, financial support on an ongoing basis, and some volunteers.
Yeah, so if any of you would like to volunteer, we would love that. But if not, we hope that you'd all come for all soup.
That's it.
Thank you. Any councillors?
Just wondering how much financial support you're seeking.
We don't know until we do the first one. And then we'll know we're figuring roughly, we're guessing $200. But we're going to local businesses and all that too. So that may drop down the town's amount. We may not even need the financial support. It's more, give us a place and let us try it.
Ask a question. Why was the community hall rejected? No reason given. Look into that. Maybe.
Have any other questions for them? No? Everybody's happy? Okay, thank you for coming by, girls. We'll discuss it and go from there. If you could, I would ask that you forward your presentation to Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can kind of go over it.
Do you have any idea when a decision would be made?
At this moment, no. We will be looking at it for sure this week, though. So. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, approval amendment of meeting agenda. Draft motion, be it resolved that council approve the agenda, the committee of the whole meeting dated December 6, 2022 as presented. Moved by Harry. Seconded by Doug.
Could I do an amendment to it for a library report, please?
So that'll be in 617.
617, yes.
Discussion on the minutes. On the agenda, sorry. All in favor? Carried. Number 5, staff reports. 5.1, Public Works, October, November report. Aaron, thank you.
Basically what I do, read word for word. I'm just going to summarize. Any questions, feel free to ask anytime. So I'll start with water plant and distribution. I didn't have anything for water plant put in here. We did have one water break. So back on October 13th, we had a water break at 36 Silver Street. Notice was put on social media on October 12th of the excavation and the closure of Silver Street from Keenest Trail to Prospect Ave. I had hired 2 contractors to work on this project due to the scope. I wanted to get this one done as fast as we possibly could, just so we didn't have to keep the downtown section closed. And there was also a show at the theater that night, so having the water shut off, that would have put it. So I called in Don Avset Trucking, they provided an excavator, and I called in Rand Sons to provide a back truck. I also had a hydro on site because we required pole support and a flagpole basically we were digging and required that. Notified stock transportation of the closure and basically anyone else that would be required to be notified. We set a detour up at Fasken Ave, which is down over by the miners. We set it up there for southbound traffic to allow bigger vehicles to get through. There's no detour anywhere closer that would allow transports or anything, so that's why we set it up there. And another one at Tina's Trail for northbound traffic. So we began the excavation at the sidewalk in front of 36 Silver Street. We ended up finding the leak about 20 to 25 feet out in the road from the curb stop. And basically, there's a hole in the copper, massive boulder sitting right on top of this line. So that's probably the cause, just over time, the abrasion from that. So we had to shut down the valves at Tina's Trail and at Prospect Ave to isolate the section. When we do that, it's an automatic boil water advisory, precautionary boil water advisory. So that was a call to Aqua. They arranged that with the health unit, and we implemented. So we did this. We repaired the section from the outside of the so the other side of the leak to the curb stop. We put a new curb stop in, as well as a curb stop box. Turn on the valves. No more leak. You could hear a pretty good audible hiss in the basement of the. This is how we initially discovered. The business owner called us. They could hear it running. We went down. Stephen and I went down, and it was silent. So we were satisfied that it was fixed. So before we could open any valves, we delivered all boil water advisory notices. We opened the valves, test for pressure, everything was good. So we backfilled the site. So Aqua was on site to collect samples immediately. 24 hours later, they collected a second set of samples. They all go to the lab in Kirk Lake. October 15th, so this was the 13th, was a dig. October 15th, the boil water was lifted, and I delivered them on the 16th because we got the notice very late in the evening. So, yeah, so that was that. And Demora Construction paved the road and reinstated the sidewalks. So that was that one. And that's all I got for distribution. Anything on that? No, all good. All right, so I'll move on to wetlands and sanitary. So we had a couple of sewer issues the past couple of months. So one was on Ruby Street. So I received notification from the resident on from a resident on Ruby Street that they noticed slower flow in their sewer. So we went to investigate, two staff and myself, and determined we would need to use our camera to check it out. We came back the following day with our camera. The town had installed cleanouts on the north edge of the property. So we went in, there was two cleanouts, one that goes down, one that goes upstream. We went in both ways. The downstream line was clear. The upstream line was the issue. It was full of water. We couldn't really see what was going on. You need basically a clear pipe for our camera to work. So we determined the leak was close to the home. So we advised the homeowner to basically call a plumber to deal with the issue. And they ended up calling in contractors to replace a section of pipe. November 1st came along. This is a week or so later, and I received another call from the resident that their sewer was blocked again. So this time we went back, we put our camera in, we couldn't see anything. So we tried to use our sewer tape. We couldn't get through. So by that time of day, it was late. We came back the next day and used our spring rotting machine. So it's basically a tool that goes in and it's like an auger, it augers right through. So we cleared the section and we discovered that there was a section of clay pipe that was collapsed. So when the contractor hooked up the section of pipe, they put in a new section of PVC and they hooked up to PVC. The cleanouts that the town put in like 15 years ago were PVC. So they only assumed that that whole section was PVC. We discovered with our camera inspection that it wasn't. There was a slice section of PVC, clay pipe, then the town's PVC. there was no records and nobody could remember. So what we're thinking happened was back when the town did water distribution upgrades, what's likely to happen is the contractor broke this section of pipe. They spliced in a piece of PVC and they just went on. That was it. So I talked to Steve about it. We determined that it should be, we should fit that part of the bill because it was a town error 30 years ago. So we went back the next day, dug the whole line and replaced the whole section from our clean out to the plastic that the contractor did. And we haven't had any calls since. So that section became good on. Any questions on that one? All good. The second sewer issue we had was a Nickel Street, Baker Street line. So this one runs from Nickel Street down and through Baker Street and over to Grandview. We had a resident call, their sewer was backed up. Ended up, we couldn't get our equipment in, our camera or our clearing, like any of our clearing machines because it was too large. They didn't have a proper clean out in their basement, just a small hole in the pipe. So they called the plumber to deal with it. They did. The plumber found the issue about 80 feet out, which would have been on town property. So the homeowner called me back and asked if we could use our camera to see. They were just wondering who's going to foot this bill. So I asked if we could make it hold the pipe. They were fine with that. So I sent the guys up on November 17th. They cameraed it. They got out 65 feet down. The pipe was in good shape. They got to a point where they couldn't get the camera any farther because there was a dip and just sometimes you just can't. So I just deemed it, I talked to people on this one too, that it was a town issue. So we foot the bill for that one as well. And we're going to have to visit that one again in the spring. We've had issues on that line before and we've replaced sections of that pipe before. So springtime. So I just told them, monitor it throughout the season. And at least now they have a bigger hole if it does block up again. So that's it for sewer. Any other questions?
Yeah. Is any of this going to be dealt with maybe when we start separating, or is it a different thing?
It could be. We're not exactly sure. I was going to touch on the stormwater issue right now. So I don't know if we touched on that at all, but I'll just touch on it. November 2nd, Stephen Daly and I had a meeting with AFLA to discuss upcoming changes to stormwater systems. So basically what they told us was in the near future, any combined sewer systems are going to be no longer allowed. So what that means is any sewer that has any stormwater that are running into our sewer mains are going to have to be removed. So it could potentially, if that's a section of pipe that had storm, it could be, but it's not a deep pipe, it's shallow, so it wouldn't be a very expensive fix if we had to just kind of fix it up for now. But so back to the stormwater, we're waiting on direction right now from Aqua. They have their team working on it, and it's very early. We don't know where we're going to have to start. That's what they're working on, sort of a list on, all right, start here. So that's all I got on that for now. And I will just provide that. So, that's all I have for sanitary. If there's anything on that. I'll move on then to capital projects. So our paving, Silver Street and Silver Lane were paved in October. We had intentions of paving Lang Street and a section of the Lang Street Bridge, I should say, and a section of 3rd Street. We had to defer those to next year just because of contractor availability. They basically ran out of time, which it might not be a bad thing anyway, because, if there's potential that we have to tear up 3rd Street to fix some stormwater issues, I don't want to tear up brand new pavement. So maybe a good thing that we had to defer it. So that's that. Asset management, part of the capital project. I'm working with Evan right now on next step of the plan. So we're right now we're going to each town-owned building and identifying all capital items in the buildings and trying to find cost in each item. So it's things like furnaces, water heaters, anything like that. And then we're also working on obtaining costs for various construction-related materials, piping, water pipes, sewer pipes, all that kind of stuff. So that's where we're working on right now. I'm just assisting Evan, I should say. He's doing most of it. So that's basically all I have for capital update right now. Public Works General. So this is just a few things that kind of I list only fall under a certain category. So our winter sand has been mixed and piled, and our stock for this season is approximately 2,200 tons. The splash pad has been winterized and closed for the season. All of our hydrant markers and stair closures are installed for the winter season, and our sandboxes are all out and filled. Paving and sidewalk replacement for all of our water breaks this year. We had 4 or 5 breaks. They've all been paved, and the Main Street one, we had one just down from the Miners Tavern is the sidewalk has been reinstated there. I've ordered new signage for our winter parking restrictions, and it actually arrived today, so we'll get those up very soon. The flower hangers and benches have been removed from the downtown area. I've collected Coleman flows for October and November and submitted those. I've conducted a winter operations training session with my staff as per section 5.6 of the winter operations plan. And we're currently working on putting up some Christmas things. We have some up. We're going to see what we can do to get some more. Buildings. Any questions on any of those? Okay. So buildings. I didn't put the date on this, but November 15th, the Fraser elevator emergency. So I received a call at 6 a.m. From the Fraser elevator. So basically, the emergency button and the Fraser, if you press it, it goes to my phone 4200 number. So a gentleman was stuck in the elevator. He notified me that nothing was working. So I dispatched 2 of our staff members, Brian Mercy and Dave Adset, to assist me with that. We arrived at the Fraser about 20 minutes later, and we retrieved so there's a key we have that allows us to open the door from the outside. It's called a drop key. It doesn't really look like a key, but anyway, insert it. Allows you to open the door. Once we opened the door, we discovered that the elevator was stuck between the first and second floor. David and I went into the control room, which is in the bunker, and we cut the power to the elevator, and from there we can manually lower it. So we lowered it even with the first floor. The gentleman figured it out. Called Severia. That's our contractor for all our elevators in town. Fraser here at the hall. He had to order a part, and unfortunately, we're still waiting for that part. It's being delivered from BC, so as of right now, the elevator is still down. I'm expecting it any time, so hopefully this week. Very hopeful that it'll get. That's where with that. The library. So we had library staff request a few repairs throughout the summer. I had a lot of those completed recently. So we rekeyed the front door and the rear door with our high security ASSA locks. So now they're both keyed the same, and we've got a list of who has keys now, which we didn't have before. So there's a lot of keys out there accounted for. We changed a whole bunch of light fixtures for them and bulbs and stuff like that. And I've also obtained a quote from an electrician to replace the ballasts and all the interior lighting. Most of the ballasts are out. So I do have one quote for that. And you may put that into our capital budget. We're not really sure. I had a contractor in at the Old Mage Club. Their furnace went down, or their boiler, I should say. So I had a contractor in. They replaced the circulating pump on the boiler. And the last building is the theater. So a few minor things we did. We painted the outside stairs as requested by their staff. And I had a broken window pane on the interior door replaced. The big one there is in use. So I met with the contractor and the engineers on December 1st, which was last Thursday. And we set up a work plan. Contractors were there Friday to begin work. I made a separate report for this, which I submitted to Steve. I didn't have time to get it on to this. So I will just go ahead and read what I wrote. Basically, they found for issue. Here we go. So the contractor is Bob Haskins from Gibbs Construction. So they were on site December 2nd, which was Friday, to begin the repairs. The initial plan was to repair 13 rafters that were damaged and sagging by jacking them back into place to align with the existing support beam and then sister each rafter. After further inspection by the contractor, they discovered that there's much more damage than had previously been determined. They removed insulation at the low point and discovered that the main hip girders were broken as well. So this is a section that has constantly been leaking every single year, and it's just been getting patched. And so there's some major issues there too. So they couldn't jack the broken rafters as initially planned because they had basically completely separated from the roof. And there was a whole bunch of nails basically sticking out. So if they would have jacked it back up, the nails would have poked through the torchon roof and destroyed it. So so they supported everything in as is, like down, but they put in new beams and cistern each rafter. And then they cut a new hole where the girders are broken in the center. And they put in a vertical beam to support the main beam spanning the steel beams. And then they cistered everything they could there. So basically it's supported as is right now. They couldn't put it back the way they originally intended. So they're working right now with our engineer on creating a new design plan to actually make the permanent repair. But for now, at least it's secure for the winter. I'm gonna have to monitor it very closely and try to keep snow load off of it. Like they told me, 2-3 feet max. If we get any more, we're gonna have to try to keep it clean. So I'll have to hire a contractor to shovel it off. But as of right now, it's safe to use. It's secure. Not the best news, but glad we found it. So that was just the separate report that you don't have right now. Okay, so that's it for buildings. Anything on that? Yeah. Questions on the theater?
The theater, how much extra are we talking to get this repaired?
So I asked if he could give me ballpark, and he said 50 to 60,000.
That's in addition to what he had originally
addition
quoted?
to what he's already done. Yeah, so they're going to have to they're going to work from inside. They're going to basically have to drop the whole ceiling, re-insulate everything, and fix everything that's broken. Redo the roof, so we need torchon where they are going to have to jack it up and pull through. We'll have to just repair that section.
And how much was the original quote?
The original quote was 18 and change. The invoice came in today. I don't know if I'll have to say that or not. I'll just say it came in under the quote.
Okay.
So,
and the painting of the stairs, is that going to make a slip hazard?
Yeah, it's the same thing we've done in the past.
Okay.
They requested it again, so I
got grit and all that stuff.
I've never heard of any issues. We maintain the stairs. It's part of our shoveling.
Applying sand and whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So they never complained before of any slipping issues. So it was requested by them.
Jumping back to the library, we thought about maybe just installing new LED strips. It'd probably be cheaper than doing ballast.
I mean, the contractor thought because the lights are it's a sloped ceiling inside. They're all right on the ceiling. Mm-hmm. So he went with the ballast because he can just use the same fixtures that are there.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have any work to do on the ceiling.
You can get them the same size.
If we can, it was just one quote. We can look at other options for sure.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a ballpark, a starting point, basically.
Just save somebody from going up on a ladder, changing bulbs.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be
LEDs and everything else.
Right? Yeah, he's going to put LEDs.
You still have a ballast issue.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, there's definitely some more options we can look at. Depends, how much we want to spend and how long we want to do. So I can definitely look at some more options. Good. So yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to equipment. So we received our new mower that I ordered back in the spring. We purchased the model. It's a G1800. It's a 4-wheel drive unit. This is going to make it a lot easier for us to cut areas we couldn't cut before, simply because our old mower wouldn't go places that it needed to. So this is a 4-wheel drive unit. It's got a roll bar, a seat belt, so it's going to be a safer machine to operate. And it is a diesel, so we don't have to run to Hillebray anymore to fill it up. We can fill it up right at our shop. Diesel tanks there. So that arrived a little later than I was hoping. I was hoping to be able to use it this summer, but anyway, better late than never. So we've done emissions testing on our heavy equipment, so our plows, 2 plows in our dump truck, and I renewed our licensing on our 2 plows and dump trucks. That's about it. I spoke with our mechanic and we had major repairs over the last few months. And our new shop updating. So we're currently waiting on the HVAC contractor. I spoke with him this week and he said most of the parts have arrived. Some he's still waiting for. He's expecting them anytime. So we're waiting for that. The original application for the gas line was not put in correctly for whatever reason. I don't know. So that application is put in by the contractor, so it would have been Helen Sons. I don't know what happened there. We had him put in another one, which is now correct for whatever reason. I don't know what happened. Basically, though, by the time he got it in, it's too late to put in the permanent gas service. But we can. So I was speaking with a representative from Enbridge. What we can do is put in a temporary service for the year. Basically, what we're going to do is run a line off of our current meter from our old shop around to the new shop just for the season to get us through the year. So we're looking to do that as soon as he's got all the parts he needs. We're going to put that into place. And then I'm also waiting on the ventilation and plumbing schematics, which the building inspector requires. And I've been told that they are finished. So hoping to get this stuff, hoping by this week, I'll have everything kind of under control there. So that's kind of where we're at with the shop. And then just some upcoming stuff. Obviously, winter maintenance is starting now, so that's going to be our primary focus until spring. So just so you know, I follow our winter maintenance policy when dispatching equipment. Everything is stated in there. Obviously, I use a bit of common sense. I'm not going to, we have, in the policy, meters is the trigger point for the main drag, but waiting until it gets that bad. And I also do 4 road patrols daily at intervals, kind of Steve and I set right now. Yeah, that's about it from my. So, any questions on it? Questions? No. Good. Cool. Yeah.
Because it's impossible. Now the heat things cut off, that helps a bit. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do our best.
Closer.
Sorry.
I'm just sitting in the middle. Can we move them closer?
Take them closer.
Yeah, maybe we can have them. You just line up some chairs on the side here for today.
That work over here?
That would be better.
Yeah.
She can my mic. That is a mic.
I don't want to interrupt. Come on, Steve. It is bad. You can't hear it. I love it.
Like so.
We'll get a couple rows. Okay, moving on. Animal control 5.2 October report. I believe Steve has also received the November report, which will be provided to the meeting. Any questions from council on that? Yeah. Any questions from council with regard to that? Okay.
No, nothing.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Are you good?
Oh, yes.
Moving on. Bylaw enforcement 5.3 October, November report. Pete Gilbo can come up and. How you doing?
What you're planning on presenting, so you've got a copy of the report in your package. But if you had a chance to read it.
No surprises on there?
No surprises?
Is there? No.
No, I don't think so. Well, not from my perspective. Yes.
You want to give us an update on the public school?
Yeah, as much as I can. So in the report, it does say ongoing property standards issues with that location. There was a property standards order issued by myself to direct the owner to either secure the remaining portion of the building against entry or demolish it. It has been demolished as of last week. So that order has been complied with and will now be closed. So from a municipal perspective, that's the end of our involvement. All I can say publicly is that cleanup of the site is ongoing, and we'll see what happens in the next week or so. As a municipality, we have no way to compel the owner to clean up the remains of the site. If that's done voluntarily, wonderful. If not, such is life. So that's where we're at with the public school. The order's been complied with, and from a legal perspective, our involvement with the site is done at this point.
Good thing that it's down at least.
Absolutely. Our concern with property standards was liability, both for the owner and by extension for us. We knew people were accessing the property. We did a number of tours with previous council and staff, and there was just no practical way to secure that building. There were so many openings, the cost would have been prohibitive. So for us to order the owner to secure it, if the owner did not do so and we had to absorb that cost, it would have been more cost efficient to bring it down. And that was the decision that was made. And that's why the order was ordered the way it was, to secure or demolish. And he did comply by having it demolished. So yeah, from a legal bylaw enforcement perspective, that's all we ask and apply.
Awesome.
And as I said, we'll see what happens from here on. That's a personal business relationship that the owner has with the contractor, and we'll see how it turns out. Cautiously optimistic.
Does anybody have any questions for Pete? Okay, thank you. Very good. Moving on, item 5.4, municipal intern update. Evan.
Hey guys, I like the new setup here. Oh, okay, so since last meeting, it's been a little while now, so I can't remember exactly where Tech Park left off, but I believe basically since the end of the last meeting, you know, all the work has been completed for the year. You know, it's winter now, so we finished the natural playground was completed. The walking path was completed. So at this point, you know, work on it is done for the year. We still have some funds remaining. As I highlighted back in the October meeting, we were planning on doing lights, but unfortunately you can't work on that now. We're talking to contractors to, you know, hopefully get it done once, you know, the ground softens up in the spring. So yeah, we have two grants that we're working with. The paving, the walking path was done through the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative. So we have a little bit of money left there. You know, there hasn't been a determination on what that's being used for. So, you know, if there's any council input on that, that's definitely something we can look to. And then with the Fed North funding, that's basically going to take up the remaining funds that's left from Fed North. You know, the quote and what we have remaining kind of almost lines up perfectly. So that's where we're at with Tech Park. The project needs to be, for both of them, need to be completed by, you know, next spring. They need to, you know, have all the information, and the money needs to be spent and everything. So just working on getting the rest of that money spent by then. And yeah, so that we're nearing the end on Tech Park. So, you know, I think I'm pleased with how it's turned out. And then in terms of asset management, Aaron did touch on it a little bit, but yeah, so me and Aaron have been going out. So earlier this year, we completed all of the streets, the stormwater, the sewage, all of that. We completed all that. We created the document. And so that was posted on our website. It was sent to Infrastructure Ontario as per their regulations. So the public can view it. They've approved it. So now the next step, by next summer of 2023, we need to have all the buildings done, basically collect all of our building inventory. Luckily, you know, as a small town, we don't have a ton of buildings to collect, but you know, kind of the longer task in it is, like Aaron said, you have to go in and collect everything that's capital. So, you know, furnaces, boilers, you know, and here you've got sound system up here. You know, there's a lot of things that you might not think of, and then, you know, you realize that each building has quite a few things to mark down. So we're working on that, collecting all the data that we can. So we've completed, you know, here, the community hall, the staff building, we went down to the Golden Age Club, the fire hall. So we've gotten a few things done, but that's something that's currently ongoing. And then he also mentioned that we've been doing some updates to our asset pricing. So on our asset management plan, a lot of the pricing was done through provincial averages, things of that nature. And while the government does accept that for our purposes, you know, the goal is to get as accurate of measurement as we can. So we've been collecting specifically to our area, more accurate numbers. So, you know, whether it's talking to contractors or just looking at past invoices, things like that, trying to get our numbers to be as accurate to our specific town as we can, so that you know, we can provide the province with you know, those accurate information specifically for us. And then we've also signed up for, well, we were approved for 30 hours of free consulting from MFOA. And so we're working with Marmac, who we've already been working with. We had paid for their services originally. Now we are receiving some free consulting to, you know, kind of help us along with it, because that's a big task. And so they're kind of guiding us through it. So yeah, in terms of asset management, that's pretty much where we're at. We've also been working on updating some of our major documents for Emergency Management Ontario. Our emergency response plan you know, had not been updated in over a decade. So certain things, you know, like you know, like we had old telephone numbers on there. We had, you know, old businesses that don't exist anymore, things of that nature. So so yeah, completed the emergency response plan, which is, you know, essentially the overarching plan of how, you know, the town would deal with an emergency situation. Then I've also worked on the critical infrastructure identification list, which is, you know, from food to water to gas to, you know, whatever it may be. This is just a, you know, a giant document which kind of highlights all of the critical infrastructure that you would need, you know, in the event of an emergency. And then I'm currently in the process of working on the hazard and risk assessment document, which is basically highlighting some of the major risks to the town, you know, who would impact, you know, what, you know, kind of like a general piece on how we would respond to that. So these are just all things that, you know, they would like to have more up to date. They, you know, the information on it would probably suffice to them, but it's pretty old. So I think having it updated for our sake is a good idea. And then we recently completed the application for Canada Day funding. So every year we apply to receive some Canada Day funding to help out, you know, our events that we do. So typically we hear back around March. So, you know, we'll be waiting a few months, but we can, you know, we usually receive a few $1,000s to help out. So that's the goal. And just recently, the summer student application, or the summer student grant application for next summer was open. So the plan is to, you know, again, start working on that, try and get ourselves some students for the summer, because, you know, it's always greatly appreciated, you know, from Public Works to have a few extra helping hands around, with, you know, with all the grass and whatnot that's got to be cut. So that'll be something, you know, I'll be beginning in the, you know, coming week or whatever. So So yeah, that's those are the major projects I've been working on. If anybody has any questions on them.
How much money is left at Tech Park?
So on the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative, that is $5,312. So that, as I mentioned, is kind of unspecified as to how it's going to be spent. And then for FedNor, there's $40,019 and some change, really, a few extra cents. So that's where we're at right now with the.
And that includes lighting?
40. Yeah.
Lighting?
Yeah. So we, so the quote we received is, right around that ballpark. I don't know the exact number, but it's good. Yeah.
For the 5,000, they must have an idea of how it should be spent. We can't just have a party. So what do they recommend?
Right. So, the fund is for, it's called the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative. So essentially, it's kind of something that, helps.
A healthy party.
Yeah, something that.
Doors.
Yeah. So for the walking path, the reason that was accepted, is because, for if someone's in a wheelchair, it helps them get outside, it's more, it's accessible, it's a little bit better than being on the grass, So it's kind of that idea. It was the grant was released pretty much coming out of COVID, and the idea of it was to help people get back outside and, kind of surround themselves with people again, you know what I mean? So it is pretty open-ended, there's not, the guidelines aren't extremely strict, like we can't spend it on anything, but there is, a decent, pool of ideas we could pull from.
I was wondering on the healthy communities, like we're going to do a skating rink somewhere. I think that would fit within those guidelines.
Sure, yeah, that's something we can definitely look at.
So it wouldn't be extra cost then to the town.
Okay, that's definitely something we can look into for sure.
All right. Thank you, Evan.
Thanks, guys.
Well done. Okay. Draft motion, be it resolved that council accept the staff reports as presented. Mover Gary. Pat is a seconder. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. Number 6, items for council consideration. So, directing staff to update the corporate bank signatory at CIBC. So myself and Douglas Wilcox will be appointed as deputy, who's the deputy mayor. Where are we here?
Not there yet.
Nope, not there yet. Anyways, so myself and Doug will be the corporate bank signatory, so that's for CIBC. Item 6.2, 2022 holiday schedule. Information report. Steve's going to touch on that.
I'm looking for a recommendation from council as what's been used for previous years. Staff is requesting council's approval to close the administration office on December 28th and 29th and close at noon on December the 30th. That will be using their own vacation time on those days. This schedule has been used, like I said, in past previous years. So the 23rd is a Friday prior to Christmas. Opening up.
Awesome.
Recommendation from staff.
Yep.
From council.
Any recommendations from council on that?
No, that sounds good to me.
6.3, 2023 council meeting schedule. Notice of first and third Tuesday of the month, unless otherwise posted. 6.4, Myself, committee and board appointments. Town has a few committees that we're looking to fill positions in. DSAB is seeking a representative for Area 4, which is Hudson, Kearns, Latchford, Coleman, and Cobalt and Harris. Each municipality will select a nominee and then contact all other municipalities in Area 4. Then a candidate will be selected from the nominees to present Area 4. Sharon Gadoudi East of Latchford represented our area last term. So any recommendations there? Anybody would like to fill in on that position?
I could put my name forward.
Thank you, Angela. And then the Temiskaming Health Unit Board of Health will also seek a representative for the area. Again, each municipality will select a nominee and then contact all of the municipalities. Then a candidate will be selected from the nominees. Susan Cote of Coleman Township represented our area last term. Is there anybody here that would like to? Pat?
Yeah. I've sat on a couple of their committees years ago and was volunteer through COVID.
Perfect. Also, we have the Cobalt Public Library Board. Notice to advertise, it's for members there. Currently Doug's sitting on the board and myself.
This is like a notice to the public.
And the Cobalt Water Commission, notice to advertise for members there as well.
Put my name down for that.
So if other members of the public want, they should contact the town.
The town's going to be putting out a notice in the paper, I believe on social media for this as well. So, yeah.
We just need one person from our area, and then they pick out of the pick out of the 4 or 5 groups.
Yep.
Who did that one last? Who represented us on the water board last time?
I don't know. Do you know this?
Do we know?
We
Who
didn't have
represented us
one.
on the water board last
Oh,
There's nobody on the water.
Yeah, we haven't had a water commission for years. John. We got to it, and it kind of fell apart.
Okay.
We haven't had that board.
All right.
It is something we need.
Angela?
Can we just clarify that more? If it's the Cobalt Water Commission, it's the town of Cobalt Water. So it's not just one person that's nominated from an area. This is ours, and we need many people to build
Okay.
Just a new committee. Yeah, we would be forming a new
okay.
committee.
Okay. I'd be interested in that maybe then.
We currently have Gary and Harry there.
And anyone else that rhymes with us can join.
A Larry and a Mary. Good.
Perfect.
Okay, 6.5. Now we're looking for a recommendation from council. Public Works had to remove the 2010 Chevrolet Silverado from their fleet due to major mechanical issues and is unsafe to drive. You see the report here, that's in your councilor package. It's better need to be replaced. Well, we're looking for recommendations.
Aaron?
On
Then another vehicle needed to replace this one, or how are we doing? Because the manpower in our vehicles.
So we've always made the minimum amount of half. We always run with 3 down to 2, so makes it difficult. I basically need a truck for my purposes, and the guys need a truck for theirs. So it's difficult running with 2. I mean, I like all my road patrols right now I'm doing with my personal vehicle. Charging anything, mileage right now. So it's definitely needed. We definitely, and not only that, but our current oldest truck is also 12 years old. So we need to look at something pretty soon.
Is this something that we'd like to take on a lease for, lease it, or?
We've, Steve is actually can comment on that.
What we're looking for a recommendation council if to look to a staff report on options. Just if we would be looking at going out to local dealers, getting some quotes on either 2022, 2023.
Well, it's better to buy, better to lease.
Yeah.
Okay. And who would do that then? That'd be your job, yeah? Okay. One more thing on your plate.
Angela?
Last time we bought used, is that something we would consider again?
And with a staff report, I would look in how long.
It was 10 years ago. It said it was purchased and it had already 140,000 kilometers. We've managed to use it for 10 years. Used mine.
I know our mechanic prefers new, simply for warranty reasons. We've put a lot of money into that truck over the years, the used truck. I can create a report with assistance from our mechanic if you prefer, but I know we have put quite a bit of money into that. So generally, I think new, you can kind of get some, I don't know. Anyway,
maintenance is nice. Warranty's nice.
Warranty's nice.
I just wonder, are we bound to like having a North American brand, or can we do?
You do anything?
Because they seem to rust very.
That truck was it had a 5-foot box. Our mechanic advised against buying it, and they bought it anyway. So
I know they don't
5-foot box.
They don't use the best steel for these vehicles in North.
No, I mean it's going to be what comes down to the best. The best price, best deals.
See some of the items, especially with how difficult it is to get vehicles during this time, especially with the COVID. The cost of a used vehicle is very close to that of a new. The price difference is not much. Plus you have your warranty still with the new maintenance. So all those will be factors going into the
just whether North American or say Japanese, like steel.
If I can comment on that, I generally go with what our mechanic is, is the best at. So if he knows this or that, that's I take his recommendation on this. And I bring it. That's kind of the rule. So, but yeah, anything,
In previous years, we've also just gone with 3-quote system, at least 3 quotes from local dealers. We have a rule generally that we shop locally for new trucks. In part because we get some very good help from them running things like our mining museum and other things. There's a noblesse oblige to some extent working there. And generally, as Steve writes up the requirements that we want in a vehicle, they come back with a quote, and usually we go with the least expensive. That will do the job.
Any other questions? No? Thanks, Aaron.
So recommendations to provide
that
report.
Yep. Council.
I guess you can also look at the lease option too, that was brought up.
Item 6.6. Discussion for hiring a full-time or part-time public works shoveler. Council to discuss the viability of hiring a shoveler part-time or full-time for the winter. There was a discussion with the previous council, but did not continue since they were in lame duck council. Discussion on that.
Bring Aaron back up again.
I see it as a part-time, probably a position, I imagine.
Whatever you prefer.
We can't stay up here 40 hours a week.
Winter, we could definitely find another fifth guy to do. So right now, thankfully, we haven't had any major storms. Running 1 plow right now. If we get any major storms, you need 2 plows on roads. That leaves with four staff. That leaves 1 job not getting done. So there's always, like, if you were to go with a full-time operator, that's great because I can use him on any piece of equipment. I can use him to haul snow. If you go with the shoveler, then that's fine too. I can use them in a lot of areas too. So would I like another full-time guy? Sure, but that's there's definitely enough for a guy to be there full-time if that's the way you.
Doug.
Just historically, we have generally tried to go with 5-man town crew on. It works out very well, particularly when you take into account holidays and other kinds of things that do crop up, illnesses, whatever. It's nice to have an extra person around who can fill in wherever. In our last meeting, I think I recommended a part-time, pretty much more out of concern for budget concerns, that kind of thing, trying to see where we're going to be, what the impact of another full-time salary would be. But historically, it's what we've always done. Certainly recommend it.
Would this be just seasonal winter, or would it leak into the summer and stuff, do you think, too, or what?
I know in the past we've so, you know, we could start it at that and see, you know, definitely winter for sure. We definitely need that 5th person.
You have, I guess, the students for the summer.
Summer, yeah, we have run part-time in the summer as well. I was part-time at one time. We've had a lot of so yeah, it's kind of I don't know.
I was just gonna say, you know, it's good to hire and get someone lined up part-time now, and if the need comes, like, where's the snow? But if it all comes at once, then those hours are going to have to be expanded out. And I think that's up to sort of staff to, and you to budget it in, but at least get a start on part-time, get someone in there. And that's always been a good way of sort of testing out the next employee down the line to make sure that we've got someone that's aware and that, you know, can learn the jobs and everything when the next person reaches retirement age, stuff like that.
I'd like to know if there's a difference in cost between a shoveler versus somebody who's more qualified for running more. And then I guess we as a council haven't had a chance to look at our budget to know how that impacts our budget in general. Hiring one person could be 50% of our budget. I don't know yet because we haven't had that experience with the budget and the numbers. So I think it'd be important to have that in front of us to understand. It all sounds good. We all want more staff, but what does that mean in reality?
It might come down to it. We might be just lucky to get whoever we get too. Nobody seems to really be out there applying for jobs nowadays. So we get a full timer who has some experience, might be nice, but just get a shoveler. 2 legs, 2 arms might be the qualification.
We do have to provide minimum maintenance to the town. That's our major. We have certain time limits where things need to be done, so we have to take that into stairs unshoveled or sidewalks unplowed for days on end. You know what I mean? So we got to take those into account as well.
So basically, what does it equate to if, you know, we don't get anybody for you guys? What's going to happen? Like, are you able to maintain the standard the town has?
It would be very difficult. We ran with 1 plow in the past because of health issues with that number, and it's very, very difficult. That the plow operator that year was, you know, by the end of the season was just mentally and physically drained, and just couldn't do it anymore. So it's a lot, and then, you know, we're fielding with 1 plow out. It's taking that much longer to plow the town. So you get a lot more complaints, you get a lot more, you know.
What's the necessity in your opinion?
Winter to have, like, you know, if you wanted to go with a part-time laborer, that, you know, that's better than what we have now, because then I can put my 4 full-time staff on equipment, and then, you know, I'll have the 2 plows, I'll have the sidewalk, I'll have the water out.
Harry, yeah, I'd like to see you go part-time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my opinion on that.
At least the season will start out.
Yeah, then we can expand into it. Right?
Might get 40 hours a week, who knows,
right? What staff can provide is a report to council with the object of the collective agreement also in place. We will have to look at that and look at the seasonal option.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Any other questions? All right, moving on. Item 6.8. So draft bylaw amendment number 2 to bylaw 2021-32 for traffic and parking. The amendment to the bylaw is to find the area on Silver Street on the street parking beside 15 Prospect Avenue. Skip one. It's not written. It's not written down in here. That's why. Sorry, 6.7. Draft bylaw appointment from Doug Wilcox as deputy mayor. First reading. Inform council. 6.8 again. So the amendment to the bylaw is to assign an area on Silver Street, right beside 15 Prospect Avenue as public parking. Will be a first reading at the regular council meeting.
There's to be specific, where is that? Is that by the old Weebies or whatever, the end of the block where I am?
Yes.
Okay, right there that faces the building?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the red brick building or
Okay,
brown.
perfect. Now, do we look into that with whoever owns that building? Is that their private parking or no? Have you checked that out?
Our
City?
where they just paved.
Yeah, even easier, then even better. Okay.
Any questions on that? 6.9, discussion for parking permits. Looking to council to discuss the parking permits the town provides upon request for the winter season. Our bylaw officer and public works superintendent will be present to give us a little bit of information.
Just stay in the seat maybe, eh?
That one with rollers.
Okay.
So, I'll start. For those new members of council, this is a parking permit. It's a historic document. It's been around for a long time. From the bylaw perspective, it has no business in law. It's not contemplated in our bylaw. It's useless, for lack of a better term, from a bylaw enforcement perspective. If we were to continue with this, my recommendation would be there'll need to be an amendment made to the parking bylaw to recognize this document as an appendix, and then somehow describe in law what it means and what it does. So just as history, as I understand it, these were issued to folks in town who don't have a place to park their vehicle other than on the street. And so my predecessor, as I understand it, when we had winter, so this is a winter parking restriction. I'll talk about some of this. So when the winter parking restriction was midnight to 8 a.m., you could not park your vehicle on a town street between midnight and 8 a.m. between November 1st and April 30th, whatever the dates were, unless you possessed a parking permit. And my predecessor would go out and do patrols after midnight. And if there were vehicles parked on the street that did not have one of these permits, and that officer would have a list, then the vehicle that was parked on the street would receive a ticket for parking on the street in contravention of the winter parking. Since I took over this job, this will be my second winter, I guess, 2020, going into the third one. The way we've interpreted and applied our winter parking restriction is if you're not interfering with snow removal, we really don't care. So on a beautiful, clear moonlight night when there's no snow and there has been no snow, if you want to park on the street, park on the street. Practically, it's no different than July. These folks are not out on the street. So we've amended our winter parking times to now reflect their operational hours. So it's no longer midnight to 8 a.m. because we don't have a night plowing crew. So if you've had a chance to review the amended parking bylaw, it reflects times when parking on the street will directly and realistically impact their ability to plow the street. So if we were to issue these permits, it would give someone with nowhere to park the authority to park on the street during those prohibited times. Unless, as this says, I understand it is my responsibility to move my vehicle to facilitate winter operations.
So practically it doesn't do anything for you. Because you can park there when we're not going to ask you to move anyway. We're not asking anyone to move. The issue we've discovered with these is it seems to give the holders some sense that I can park on the street whenever I want because I have a parking permit, which is not the case. So our recommendation is that these parking permits be abolished. They create more harm than good, in my opinion, as the guy who's out there trying to deal with them. What we really want are for people to move their vehicles and be out of the way when public works are trying to plow the road. And as long as you do that, this is moot. So that's our position, is that these are a relic of a bygone time, I will say, when, for reasons that escape me, quite frankly, we didn't want people parking on the street overnight when we weren't plowing snow. It made no sense to me. So I think we've done a pretty good job in the last 2 years of educating people that what we want is to move your vehicle when the guys are plowing the snow. Whether you have one of these doesn't change that. You still have to move your vehicle when the guys are plowing snow. And we can accomplish that without this, without having to make an amendment to the bylaw, without having to create an appendix, without having to come up with wording around how to include this in the bylaw to make it of some legal value. So that's my position from an enforcement perspective. I don't know what your thoughts are.
So the way these work now is a resident will put an application in, it'll go to the town office. The office staff send it to me. I go out and check the area they want to park, deem it, yeah, they can, or yeah, no, they can't. I either call them and say, sorry, you're denied, or I pass the message along to the office staff saying that they are approved, and they then issue them a parking permit. It's a lot of wasted time for me, office staff, and the resident putting it in. Simply like our bylaw officer said, they serve absolutely no purpose. They don't give the whole information. So just so you know, we've had maybe 5 or 6 applications. I haven't issued any permits this year. I've just called them and said, we're reviewing these, so just do what you normally do. We haven't had any changes to, everything's the same. So I think I agree, we just need to abolish them because they are a complete waste of time.
Yeah. Any questions from council? Doug?
Well, one observation to start with, and that's nighttime plowing. Nighttime plowing occurs when the snow occurs, so it's that at times. It's not on a regular basis, but on an ad hoc basis, it certainly happens. My other question is, we have residences that do not have parking spaces available, and we do have areas that have been built up around the town to allow parking for them. Do those persons without a parking spot at their home have any claim on other parking areas? So it's not why this permit was begun?
No, they can still park on the street. They just have to move the car. They don't need this permit. If they don't have a driveway, they don't need this in their windshield to give them permission to park on the street. You know what I mean?
I'm not thinking about parking on the street. I'm thinking about parking in some of the spaces that have been opened up by the top of the hill where the old public school was. There's a number of spaces there that are plowed out for parking off street.
So all our parking, we've just changed them all to 48-hour parking. So they have ample time to move and move back. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, and so to answer your question, they don't have dibs on one of those spots. Those are public parking areas that can be used by any resident of the municipality or a visitor to the municipality. They're just parking. They're not designated parking spots for people who possess winter parking permits. And I don't think there have been any issues, certainly not in the 2 winters that I've been here, where someone who needed to park there couldn't find a spot. The issue is more convincing people that they need to use the spot rather than letting them know the spot's available. So short answer, no, they don't have any special, this doesn't give special privileges to park in one of those spots. Anyone can do it.
You had a question?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of semi-answer there. I think I was just worried about some people might park their car for 3 days or 4 days in a row, the whole weekend. Without this pass, then they have a chance to be towed out of that 48-hour rather than running out and moving your car or whatever. 48 hours. That's the only real confusion on that I can see happening.
So the 48-hour rule was another amendment to the bylaw last year, and it was designed to guard against using our public parking spaces to store your vehicle. And previous council decided that 48 hours was a reasonable time. I can tell you it's not strictly enforced around Chalk Tires. We originally, I believe the original staff proposal of the previous council was 7 days. And if you had a visitor from out of town and they came to visit and you didn't have parking around 7 days, that's winter or summer. We haven't had any real issues with getting people to move. It's taken a little bit of education. So the lot that you mentioned at the top of Galena Hill, getting people that do park there to be out of the way of the snow removal, well, then they have to move their vehicles out of there so that we can clear the lot. And just getting that education piece to them every winter, it seems that the reminder is needed. And so park there until you see that the guys have come and clean the other side of the lot, and move your vehicle over so they come and clean it. And that seems to work. We haven't had any issues with long-term storage of vehicles in those lots that's caused grief for these guys.
If somebody is in that, let's say Galena, for example, you don't know whose car it is, how do you contact them?
So I have the
You're gonna get the license plate and stuff?
ability to run plates.
Okay.
So I run plates and I do regularly do that and go out and contact people. In fact, there is one vehicle that's been parked in the lot across the street here for a couple of weeks. And that's on my to-do list in the next couple of days to go and talk to that person. The plate's already been run. I'm going to go and talk to them and say, A, you're using our parking lot to store your vehicle, and B, these guys now need to go and plow that lot. So could you please move your vehicle? So yeah, I have the ability to run plates, and that gets me the owner's information.
Angela?
And when you say store, you mean it's been sitting there without being moved?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if somebody's going to work and coming back, that's.
Yeah, so it's 48 consecutive hours. So yeah.
How long does it take you to run a plate? Like, can you do it instantly, or do you have a couple hours?
No.
This and that. Like, if you weren't rolled up on it, you can have a plate number, phone number, maybe have it all moved in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I make a phone call to Mary Ann.
Okay. I was just going to suggest maybe with the parking pass, instead of that, have the application, maybe have on a group email. Okay, we're clearing this parking lot, everybody in that parking lot thing, but
It's tough to do because snow's unpredictable. No way it's gonna snow, I can't. Yeah. So we have, I've been kind of started a little live, I've been sending a spreadsheet. So I do patrols while we're plowing. So I'll patrol ahead of the plow, behind the plow. And I'm marking on my computer and I just send that right to Pete with plate numbers, everything. He'll check that for repeat offenders. And
so you could do it all pretty much from home without having to come down and.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it should be 10 minutes, actually 15, you're on the phone and saying, hey, move your car.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, in the MPO system, there is no phone number, as you know, when you sign up for your driver's license, you put your phone number in there. So there's sometimes some legwork. But just as a matter of practice for myself, anytime I talk to someone, I grab a phone number for just that reason. And we're segueing a little bit into winter operations. That's fine, because I think that's next on the list. So if we have a major snowfall forecast, I will come down. These folks generally start at 6 for their winter operations plowing. I'll be down here at 6 o'clock and I'll go and get out in front of them and drive to the known problem spots. And if their vehicle's parked on the street, if I have a number, okay, I just go start knocking on doors. And, I wake somebody up at 6 o'clock a couple of times. And next time they
yeah, that's a surprise.
And we do have a system that's working quite well this winter. That, I started, as you said, it's just a spreadsheet, and I updated. So license plate ABC 123. So December 2nd, they live at 123 4th Street. They've been told if he rolls up again and they're still there, I've got the number. I can just seems to be working.
Right. Any other questions? Right on. Thank you. So, Item 6.10, winter operations plan. New bylaw for winter operations. Winter operations plan bylaw 2014-47 with changes. You'll see in the package that staff has made some changes highlighted in yellow. Few seconds there. Is there any questions or any discussion on that? Steve?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to bring this in for one reading because of the timeline of where we are in the season. So bring forth to our regular meeting for one reading on December 20th.
Okay.
That was stated in here. A lot of the regulations here are any updates for the provincial government, their regulations. It's just updating our former operation plan, more up to date.
Basically the same, just with the updates on one.
Yeah.
Here, am I allowed to? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's great. Like on for the priorities, the priority 1 and priority 2. Okay, I was just wondering, as transit, I'm
just to catch up. What page are you on specifically?
I'm on 14. I'm just looking at the map. Priority 1, priority 2 is green, and I'm just noticing a part of the bus route for transit is priority 2. Not priority 1, which I believe it should be priority 1 because
Where's that one, buddy?
Silver Lane and Silver Street. There's and there's a spot missing there, and that's a hill. I'm just wondering.
Bring Public Works Superintendent.
Went up there.
So,
It stayed there.
so Silver Lane, it's not on here, but it's getting plowed because that our plows
No,
coming.
I'm saying here it's green. Priority 2.
Yeah.
So it's saying it's green, so but that's part of the bus route comes here.
Yeah, so like I said, whenever if I send him to do an A route, it's getting plowed because that's where he's coming from the shop.
Okay.
So like if you want an official, I mean, but it is getting done.
Because that's a hill there too, and it can be.
It is getting done, like I said, because that's our plows basically coming up.
Okay.
Silver Lane to go out to the main. He plows his way.
All right.
Okay. So it's included.
Good.
And then ours in tight would you do that.
Yeah.
Coming down that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions on that? Okay, moving forward. Yes, Steve.
Proceed with
Yes, please. Councillor Wilcox, notice of motion, re-establishment of an ad hoc committee to review and procedural bylaw as required to be brought to the regular council meeting on December 20th, 2022.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I noticed a motion to review our new procedural bylaw. I've written the motion in conjunction with our staff who also highly recommended it. They're looking for some help to reorganize things a little bit, make it easier to do things like drawing up our agenda. Unfortunately, a copy of the actual bylaw isn't there, but essentially looking to form an ad hoc committee of council to review our bylaw and bring amendments back to council as they're prepared. So we can hopefully get it done very quickly.
Anybody have any questions for Doug? Huh?
Yeah, is that going to include staff on that committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Ad hoc committee would be up to 3 council members, but and there always has to be a staff member present. And they'll be indisposed, yeah, we're going to need them because there's some staff issues that need to be addressed.
What is the ad hoc? What is that short for?
It's
What does
not
that say?
meaning put together, thrown together of the moment, if you would. It's not a lasting committee. It's just a temporary committee
Things
to
arise.
deal with the specific issue.
Any other questions for Doug? Good. With that, number 612, NOHFC Wellness Center application. Looking for council recommendation on accepting or declining funding agreement for $90,360.
I'm probably wrong, but I thought we turned this down last council.
Yeah. Worship was, we were speaking with the funder and they asked us to bring it to the new council to see how.
Okay.
But again, the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation, it has to be specific. And right now with the what the funds are 90,360. But in everything, well, everyone knows how much with COVID when it hit, how much fitness equipment went skyrocketed in price. To have the proper facilities now, you have an HVAC system, everything like that, proper matting, sound control as well for noise barriers. Having, if we did look at Fraser building, electrical, and right now that building has only a boiler system. So also you need an air exchanger system. There are so many costs involved. We can try a bit more with the funder, but honestly, you're looking at least double.
It would be wonderful, but yeah, it's a lot of money. And it's ongoing money too, I guess, right?
So this application went in 2021. So now we're going to 2023.
So throw another 15-20% on top, probably.
When the application first went in, it was for around 100,000, so it was 90,000 from them and 10,000 from us. And that's the way we budgeted back then. Okay, yes, we can put that 10,000 and do it in the budget, but every year that it went and then all the price raises, that's why it's like, much as you hate to turn down, you know, funding that's being offered, it's just not financial.
A couple of points to Councillor Hughes' remark. The previous one that we had down at the arena was breaking even or making a slight profit. So hopefully once it's up and running, it could have become self-sustaining. The other thing is perhaps we should resubmit an expanded bid. It's something that the community has received very well in the past. There's much in demand. We don't give a lot of services in Cobalt to our people. So mayhap we should rebudget it and put in an application and see if there's an opportunity to do it again. I wouldn't want to just walk away from it.
Right on, yeah.
Doug, you're pretty familiar. How big's the area there in the Fraser building?
I couldn't give you a good number.
I haven't been in there yet.
I'll put that on our tour list.
Yes, we're going through all the.
I'd like to see some of them myself.
Anybody, Angela?
Was it going to be 24 hours? Just because I know some of the regular users of the old center, and it was really important to them, the 24 hours. Some of them were some like competitive weight lifters. So like the stuff that we have at Tech Park is great for a totally different group of people. So if we're trying to get those people back, they should be involved in what's going, and whether they'll even come back. They've obviously found somewhere new to be.
I guess we can figure that out as we go if it needs 24 hours.
It could be 24-hour because there was a separate entrance to go into that area. And if I recall, that area was close to being the same size. For me, it's been 4 or 5 years since I've been in that part of the building, but it was reasonably close. I think better sized area than sort of the doctor's office area we were originally looking at.
Gary?
Aaron, do you have an idea on the size?
So the only way I think we talking to Steve about this, we thought maybe walls in there. The current room is not very big. The common room wall, which I mean, I don't know what it is, 20 by 20 maybe, if that. I don't know. It's not big. We thought, well, I think it might confuse it with like the idea to knock down some of the walls to incorporate some of the back room a bit. We had put that, but again, we didn't really go too far with that. So, yeah.
Another thing I'd have to contact is our municipal insurer or insurance costs, and also with dealing now with free weights and any fitness center, you need staff trained and overlooking the piece of equipment at least 20 or 48 hours. That's something also would have to look at getting. I believe actually Public Works Superintendent.
I was trained when the hoist room was at the arena. I was the guy that maintained it all. So I took training with a company called ACFIT to maintain all that equipment, and it was daily. I had to go in daily to inspect all the equipment, and, service it all. So it's time consuming. So some of the like the guy I had for training at the time recommended we remove some of the items like free. I know a lot of people like free weights and stuff like that, but your liability when it comes to stuff like that, you're getting hurt, so something we may need to look at if we do decide maybe just limit it to machines. Anyway, that's
thank you.
Yeah.
Please. $613. Mural at the Cobalt Public Library, the Paul Penna Library. On November 17th, Councillor Wilcox and I attended a library board meeting. At that meeting, the library board approved a kid literacy mural spanning the northeast wall. It would incorporate fantasy with fictional characters and Cobalt elements. This has been 100% community funded through donation. The artists doing the mural are a Cobalt art group known as Kaya. Cobalt area. Cobalt area. Where is it? Cobalt Area Youth Arts Collective is what it is. 5 members of that group. And I'm going to circulate this here. Councilor Wilcox. This is just what their mural sketch, I guess you can call it.
I was holding it upside down.
Pass that along.
It's interpretive art, upside down.
Yes. I interpreted it the other way,
On the northeast. It's a fairly big wall. I'm going to guess it's at least 30 long and at some places, or the better part of 20 feet tall. So right now the library has removed all of the bookshelves from that wall. And the wall has been prepped, and I believe it's been, the base coat is on there. Just looking for any recommendations from council with regard to that. I'll circulate that for you. Yeah, sure. Actually. I'll do that. Sure. So any other questions on that? Questions? Okay, moving forward. 614. Community dinner. So coming to the holidays here, I was really hoping to have a community spaghetti supper be hosted here in this space, free to the public. We're getting close to Christmas time at this time, and I am worried about the deadline of it being on December 17th. So I'd like recommendations from council, how to proceed with this as far as time. If anybody would like to help in this matter. Yeah, is there any questions on that? Again, the December 17th was the hope to have it, but it, like I say, it is close for time. So Angela, you have a question?
It's just really a request that in the future, when we talk about dates, that we could have like Tuesday or Thursday just added. Because otherwise I feel like I'm looking, yeah, I looked that up, but then I'm looking it up so I know. And then I feel people think I'm looking at my text. So if we have Saturday, then I don't have to look it up. But
no, that would be 2 Saturdays from now. So again, it is very tight for time, and there is some logistics to be done in this kitchen before anything can happen. So, Jim.
I just had a question. I thought we, this is the community hall, the soup kitchen tried to get to use. It's the same.
No, so the soup kitchen, they attempted to go through the Golden Age Club, and the Golden Age Club did turn them down.
And the community hall, they said.
They're approaching council and staff area to use this space. But this space, like I say, there's logistics here with, we don't know if the appliances still work, insurance, all that kind of stuff. The health unit would probably need to come and inspect the kitchen as well.
Okay, so how would we do the spaghetti dinner here?
Well, it's very tight for time. Yeah, so.
Be better plan for next year, just defer it until the new year.
That's what I'm thinking, like mid-January. That would give us enough time.
Better for everybody involved, right? Or anybody that wants to
yeah,
volunteer.
That's a good idea.
Anybody else? Yeah.
but obviously get the process started.
Absolutely.
And if we're able to do our own, then it's kind of a trial run for a soup kitchen.
That's what I'm thinking on this too. So, okay. So we're going to push that back. We get
and contact it as well as
insurance, yeah, and we'll start the process. Perfect. Thank you, Steve.
And you had said free, so the ingredients are coming from.
It would be on the town's dime. So that's why we're going to discuss this.
Okay.
Another, did we get the handicap lift working?
Oh, yeah, that works.
It's working?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. That's good.
Should we do a donation to the food bank? For like, as an admission? I think that'd be smart.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Food bank's empty.
Yeah.
Spaghetti.
Give them the extra.
Food bank donation. So we'll get stuff on that and we'll start getting the ball rolling, making that happen. Any other questions? Oh, Angela?
Have you had a chat then to look at the budget costs of?
I'll take care of that. I have secured 2 chefs that would essentially do this free of charge as well, so long as the ingredients were provided. So they're all up for helping out the community. Any other questions? Kim?
I wasn't sure the capacity of this place. How many people can you have in this room?
I don't know. We'll have to look into that as well. So that'll be part of the staff report probably when it comes.
I want to know if you could have, say, a 5 o'clock set down and a 6 o'clock so that.
We don't take questions from the public at this time. Yeah, we'll get there though. Thank you. Moving on. Item 615. So if you look at your council packages, I've included in there, staff has included in there, an outline for a public rink to be made in the Golden Age parking lot. So you'll see in there measurements, an entrance, a rink rules sign, and a bench. This is just a start point to what I would like to see as a minimum. There is the option to extend that probably another 25 feet. So they would be kind of like a rectangle, more like your typical ring. So does council have any thoughts on that? Gary?
I think this might be better served maybe in the tech park area. Or I like where you did it last on the actual ice. But
So-
on the park though, we could, because you got hose problems, you got, who's gonna have the water for flooding this and stuff like from your house?
Golden Age Club.
They have their taps on in the winter, yeah.
So with that, I have approached Aaron a little bit on that. We've just kind of touched base and discussed it a bit. I'd like to get a staff report on that as well, though, and just to kind of further that. I would really like this to be put in place before New Year's, if possible. Last year during the holidays, when we had the rink out on the lake, it was the busiest time of the year. There was people from out of town, everybody's here visiting, and they were all looking for a place to go skate. Actually, it was the only place to skate at the time. It was on the rink. So everybody was coming from all around to Cobalt. The other option with the going back on the lake is insurance.
Yeah.
And liability on the
Or
lake.
maybe even a ball diamond or something.
Possibly. I really think that the Golden Age Club parking lot is the best place, other than maybe the public school lot, which we don't know.
Okay, and then Golden Age doesn't have any facilities where they'll need to park in here?
So
This is kind of mostly garden areas.
that is essentially through the wintertime, never really used at all. It's mostly just snow covered in the entire time that I've been here. I don't think it'll influence parking on the Golden Age Club at all, actually. They usually park around the building and in front of the building. And then if you look in this area here, it's hard to see, I know in there, but there's also parking for 3 or 4 cars there too.
Yeah, right in the middle, between the gardens.
Yeah.
Okay. And do we have to ask any sort of permission for people who live in this house?
That's
Right,
Darlene Charette, and she's extremely happy.
Doug's sister there, is that, is in that house there? Yeah, okay.
She's very happy with that. Any questions? Doug?
Just an observation that it's smack dab in the middle of town, and that makes it accessible to a whole lot of people.
Agreed.
A lot easier than trying to get to Deck Park in the wintertime.
Yeah.
It's a struggle and a half sometimes.
Not only that, but it's also a very good windbreak in that little hole. It's kind of in a valley, okay? So you don't really get the wind there. So that would minimize the snow shoveling and all that kind of stuff. Drifts.
There's a little mound there and sort of in the middle here. It's still.
Yes. No, not yet. But they will, yeah. That would be the goal, is to move those. They're kind of like a grass median there.
Yeah, grass median thing, yeah. Wondering.
Great. And Aaron, is there anything under the ground there that we should worry about? Nothing close up to surface, no water meter, no nothing?
There was water there at one time, so discontinued.
In addition to that, the school would be using this probably. So my wife is a teacher at the school, and she's already had teachers approach her about the rink being made so that they can bring their classes there to skate. In prior years, when we had the arena, the school would use the arena every Friday, and they would take classes down to skate at the arena. Angela.
Correct. So who's keeping the snow clearing? And I don't know much about skating rinks. So do we need a Zamboni? Like
No Zamboni needed. It would be Public Works and volunteers. Yeah, the cost would be very little. And then with Evan's report, possibly maybe we could use potentially some of that funding to help out with that as well. I think you suggested that too, like that.
Yeah, have you approached the Golden Age Club?
I will be. I wanted to bring it to council first.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Doug?
Just a thought for Angela. When I was young, we had what we called rink rats, and we gave them shovels, and they used to shovel out the arena. And we could probably bring that back in some form or other.
And if we figure out Tom Sawyer, they might even pay us to shovel. Yeah. Well, that's fun.
Awesome.
Any other questions on that? We get a staff report for that, please, too. Absolutely. Yep. Awesome, guys. Next on the agenda, 616 transit update. Pat, you think you could speak to that?
Okay, I didn't.
You're new for us.
Yeah, from when we talked to them previously, just so the public know that we are transit committee, which is both Smithson Shores and Cobalt. partner in it, and we're in the process of awarding a new contract for the next 3 years. And it will tonight, then at the Temiskaming Shores Council meeting, they should then be doing the voting on it and the awarding, and then the publicity will come out on the whole thing. And that's probably about as much as I could say right now. So
Is it a 3-year contract or 4-year? 3-year?
I think it's 3-year contract they were going for. Yeah, if I remember rightly.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to say I purposely don't, when we have the meetings and we're discussing stuff like pricing and contracts and things like that, it's all up there on the screen and we're reading it and discussing it, and I do not write it down and I do not bring any of that kind of stuff home, and that maintains the integrity of it. So that's why, don't ask me the cost. I know what it was on the screen, but that's it.
Okay. Item 617, library report. Mr. Doug.
Thank you, Your Worship. The library is doing wonderful things again, and I thought I always like to keep you guys informed about what the library is up to. And just a quick rundown on December. On Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. they have an early on program, which is just a lot of fun for little kids. On December 1st and 22nd, they're trying a family game night at 5:30, which could be kind of fun. On December 6th, 13th, and 20th, they've got a little bit of a new program starting up called Mothers of Preschoolers, where all mothers of preschoolers are invited to come out for story time and storytelling on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. And they're going to try and see if the program is well received, they're going to try and keep it going through next year. December 8th at 5:30 p.m. That's just coming right up very soon. They're having a letters to Santa workshop. So little ones can come out and write letters to Santa, and they will help them with all of the supplies and take everything from there. Basically, they just need young ones to show up and have a go at writing something fun. And on December 15th at 5 p.m., they are having family movie night. I understand there'll be hot chocolate, and at least one of us is bringing popcorn, I hear. The little kids are invited. Apparently, the kids get to sit on the floor and they'll sit in chairs for adults wherever possible. So it should be a fun night. So that's December at the library.
Yeah, Angela.
I want to add one thing. I saw that they are going to do a fundraiser with photos with Santa. I don't remember what day that is.
You haven't heard of it?
Harry?
I don't remember what day that was.
Shirley and Roger, yeah, what day was that?
I can look it up. We'll announce it.
Oh, Amber, we have the library board here. Library.
It's the Tuesday. It's next Tuesday. I think it's the 13th.
Thank you. Great things happening, eh? Great things. Okay, any other questions about that? Thank you, Doug. Very well done. Number 7, items for council information. 7.1, notice of 2023 OMPF allocation. OMPF is the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. Same allocation as 2022 of $899,300. Steve, if you could touch on that.
Yeah, it's the same allocation as we got last year. What it is to helps offset our OPP costs and other services costs that the municipality has to pay for. So again, it's the same as last year. No change there.
Thank you. Any questions? 7.2, FONOM, new highway safety standard. Steve, again.
Well, FONOM, which stands for the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, they've actually just changed the requirements for Highway 11 here for snow removal. What they just brought forth for actually 11 and 17 is after 12 hours, after snowfall, it has to be there. So it is to help hopefully decrease the accidents and everything else on our northern highways. They're upping the safety.
Any questions about that?
Comment 2 weeks ago. It didn't work. Both days I drove Sunday and Monday, but mainly Sunday. Sunday, Highway 11, Highway 17, snowpack. And it was more than the 12 hours. Yeah. You can tell where the patrol areas are by the cleanliness.
Okay, 7.3, David Bridges, Drummond Memorial Park, grand opening scheduled for spring of 2023. And I believe there's going to be their hopes of having a spring poetry festival there as well. Want to touch on that, Steve?
Minister Bridges contacted the office, just wanted mayor and council to know about the Spring Pulse Poetry Festival coming up this spring.
Where's the Drummond Memorial Park? I know I've seen it, I just can't think of it.
Beside the library.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen it a million times. Okay, yeah. A lot of your flower planting and weeding, yeah.
I mentioned that.
Any other questions about that?
Get our poetry ready.
Do all of you know about the poetry festival? You heard of it before?
I think he sent a letter this time, did he not? In our package?
Yeah, no, but I meant what's gone on with it. Oh, it's been really interesting. David is a poet, and much of what's happened in these poetry festivals a few years now has been his own expense. One of the very first years he booked, well, we still had the train. He booked a full car, and he brought a full carload of poets, friends up from the Toronto area, that kind of thing. So he really puts his heart and soul in this, and it's a weekend where there's poetry readings down at the library, and there's always someone reading Drummond's poems, and as well, there's other events that he plans around that. And, he really works hard at it, pushes it, and this area has been getting well known as a poetry festival, and it's surprising when you look at the crowd at the library, how many strangers are in that crowd, people that have come up here simply for a weekend in the spring. So it's well worth it. David puts his heart and soul into doing different things in the community.
Yep. Any other? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Poetry Park is virtually all and a lot of the work. You just go.
Any questions? No. Okay. Draft motion, be it resolved that council accept the items for council direction and information as presented by, I have a mover and Harry and Doug as the seconder. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Harry. Number 8, unfinished business. Here. Number 9, any new business? Number 10, closed meeting. Draft motion, be it resolved that council convene in closed session as per section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended in order to address the matter pertaining to subsection 2D, labor relations or employee negotiations, RE, outstanding human resource matter. Do I have a mover? Doug? Seconder, Pat? Any discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. Business arising from closed meeting? None. Number 12, adjournment. Draft motion, be it resolved that the committee of the whole meeting of council be adjourned at 9:55, or sorry, 8:55. Have a mover. Pat, seconder Doug. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody.